All right, so I'm definitely late to the ball when it comes to doing like a weird, like spoilery discussion of Captain America: Brave New World, but I still wanted to get around to doing it because I do have a lot to say about it, and I guess I do want to frame this video in a way of like, yes, it is a spoilery discussion slash review of the movie, but it's also more so just a discussion of what I kind of think happened behind the scenes of this movie. Because I made my initial review, and the more that I've thought about it, the more I dislike the movie. Now, I still stand behind what I said in my review, which was basically just that the movie is fine. It's nowhere near the worst MCU movie, but it's also nowhere near the best MCU movie. It is, as the kids say, mid. But in thinking more about it, what angers me most is the fact that I feel like I can see what the movie was supposed to be. I feel like I can see what the initial creative vision for this movie was. I feel like I can just see a much more interesting, a much more impactful story that the creators were seemingly not allowed to tell. And yeah, if it wasn't clear beforehand, this is going to be a spoilery discussion. So if you have not seen the movie, probably shouldn't watch this. Also going to spoil Falcon and the Winter Soldier to some extent as well, so take that with what you will. But what exactly do I mean that the creators weren't really allowed to tell the story that they wanted to tell? Well, there have been a lot of reports surrounding this movie. Initially, the reports were basically saying that the movie was having all these test screenings and that audiences were seemingly not enjoying the movie. And, you know, I'm not saying that stuff isn't true, but recently we got more reports, and one of them is indicating something very interesting, which is that alongside those test screenings, apparently Marvel didn't want the movie to be too political, right? They were scared of alienating certain segments of their audiences. And when I read that and I really started thinking about the movie, I feel like I could clearly see where that factored in. So let's look at this character. Her name is Ruth something or the other in the movie. Yeah, she's pointless. I don't understand what the point of her is in the movie. She doesn't really serve the story in any meaningful capacity. She was probably the character I was just like most confused by it, because I was just like, what and why are you here? And when you look into it a bit, she's supposed to be the character Sabra from Marvel Comics. And apparently Sabra is an Israeli superhero. And I feel like if you're going to include a character like this, I have to imagine that the directors slash writers probably had some kind of vision for what they wanted to do with an Israeli superhero. They probably had things that they wanted to say. And I am pretty much convinced that because of everything going on with Israel and Palestine, because you have people on Twitter that have been talking about like wanting to boycott the movie because I guess an Israeli superhero is just like inherently a bad thing now because of people's beliefs on the conflict. Marvel was probably like, yeah, you're gonna not highlight her Jewishness whatsoever. No Jewish superhero. We're gonna censor you, and you need to make sure that she's just like out of the picture, kind of. And so when you watch the movie, you don't even really know that she's Jewish, aside from like one throwaway line where like Falcon is like looking into her, and he starts like describing her, and he was like, yeah, she was born in Israel and she was a black widow. But like aside from that, there's nothing about her that's particularly Jewish. Now, that in my opinion is shitty, right? Like, no matter what your beliefs are when it comes to the conflict in Israel and Palestine, I I don't think that we shouldn't be making art about it, right? Like, I feel like people should be allowed to like make art that makes a statement about that or doesn't make a statement about that. Maybe she was just going to be she just happened to be Jewish and she was going to be a Jewish superhero. I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong about that. For all the like super far left leaning people know, Julius Ona or the writer, I think his name is Marcus Spellman or whatever. For all they know, they would have had her. They would have used her to make anti like IDF commentary, pro Palestinian commentary. But now because people are just so ready to cancel anything, and because Marvel Studios are cowardly, this character is just nothing. Nothing is said. Nothing is shown. It's just the most bland, apolitical, whatever, bleh, imaginable. All right. Let's look at President Ross. President Ross and his relationship with Sam is, in my opinion, the most pathetic part about this movie. Because President Ross is experimenting on the leader, right? He's like keeping him as a slave, forcing him to make like medicine or whatever. And it's actually kind of insulting that they refuse to do like anything with that premise, like anything interesting. Like, Sam should be horrified that the government that he's currently working for, the government that is trying to get him to form the Avengers with him, is still on the same fuck shit that they were with Isaiah Bradley, one of his closest friends, like his mentor kind of. And the fact that Sam doesn't really have like any kind of emotional reaction is absurd. Like when I really sat down and thought about it, I was like, I can't believe this. How do you not do anything with that? Well, apparently, as a part of all of the test screenings or whatever, people were feeling like uncomfortable or something that the Hulk, like Red Hulk, like I guess like a president turning into a Red Hulk, apparently based on the way it was executed initially, it was viewed as like some kind of allusion to President Trump. Apparently. Again, I haven't seen it. But I feel like because of that, Marvel was like, okay, hold on. We don't want people thinking about Trump when they see like the Red Hulk storyline. We don't want to deal with the backlash of people potentially seeing Thaddeus Ross as a Trump-like figure and a black Captain America standing against him and making allusions to, you know, the Isaiah Bradley situation, which is in itself an allusion to like the Tuskegee experimentation thing that happened. Like, so we're just gonna neuter this conflict as much as possible. Like, they have a little bit of bickering back and forth, but we're gonna neuter that conflict as much as possible. Thaddeus Ross is just gonna kind of like immediately go like, uh-oh, I made an oopsie, I'm gonna willingly go to prison. And it's just like, it's so funny because we're currently watching Invincible season 3, where Invincible and Cecil are having a genuine ideological conflict regarding how Cecil goes about doing his business. I guess I won't spoil Invincible season 3 here, but it's kind of a similar situation to this. And if you don't know, Cecil Stedman is like the Nick Fury of the Invincible universe. And it's written brilliantly because you actually like understand both sides of that conflict. You could have done this in a way where Thaddeus Ross is going like, "Hey man, I am a general in the military. We're now living in a world where aliens are invading Earth. We're dealing with literal gods. Yeah, I am gonna put the leader to work when he's under our imprisonment. I am gonna experiment on him because we need to figure out how to better protect ourselves." Like, you could have done something like that, and you could have made Thaddeus Ross still a fleshed out character, but still give Sam a reason to stand up against him. Because it's just a bizarre movie that, it's just like a bizarre movie that refuses to say anything. It refuses to even run the risk of having any kind of statement. And what's bizarre about it is because Falcon and the Winter Soldier did a much better job of writing this line than the fucking movie did. Like, sorry, I accidentally flashed this image up, and it's because Falcon and the Winter Soldier definitely had similar issues, right? You have that weird scene where at the end when Sam is like telling the senator, like, "You must do better, Senator. I'm not actually going to recommend any courses of action because I can't actually have any political opinions because I don't want to be too divisive." Like, that was definitely a terrible scene, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier definitely still had things to say, right? Like, John Walker was a sympathetic villain who was a soldier that was just kind of like chewed up and swallowed up by the army and then spit out like nothing, right? Like, that's some pretty powerful commentary. They had the balls to have some very striking imagery, like blood on the Captain America shield. You had visual storytelling that was very engaging, with Sam wondering if he can possibly live up to the legacy of Captain America. You have Sam going through the struggles of deciding if, a black man taking up the mantle of Captain America is even a good thing to do. And it's just like so crazy that Brave New World just completely throws all of that wonderful storytelling, throws all of that wonderful character development to the side in order to just make a movie that does nothing, says nothing. Honestly, the more I think about it, it's just kind of insulting, like I said at the beginning of the video. But the more blackpilling part about all of this is that I low-key can't even blame Marvel that much. Because I don't know if you saw the comments that Anthony Mackie made about Captain America, but the reaction to those comments left me flabbergasted. So somebody asked Anthony Mackie, like, what Captain America represents to him. It was in an interview, and he said, "To me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term America should be one of those representations. It's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity, someone who is trustworthy and dependable." Now, there was more to it, but the basic thing that people freaked out over was when he said that Captain America doesn't represent America. You had all of these people being like, "Oh, Anthony Mackie isn't a real American. He says that he hates America, blah, 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 blah." You have people saying, because this happened like after President Trump was elected. And people were saying like, "Oh, look at these woke Hollywood liberals. They're trying to, tear down Donald Trump, yada, yada, yada." And like, what are we fucking doing? If you have ever watched a Captain America movie, you would know. At least in the MCU, maybe it's different in the comics. I don't know. I'm not one of these fucking comic book reading nerds, but you would know if you watched any Captain America movie that Captain America does not represent the country of America. In Every Captain America movie, Captain America has to go against the United States government, right? When you look at the first Captain America movie, first of all, when he gets the serum, um, what does the doctor guy tell him? He did not pick Steve Rogers because he was a good soldier. He didn't pick Steve Rogers because he was the best representation of America. He picked Steve Rogers because he was a good man. Because that's what Captain America represents. It's being a good man that lives by, those values and that is willing to fight for them even or at all costs, right? And so, like, when does Captain America become a soldier? Or not become a soldier? When does he become, like, a hero? When does he become who he is? When does he really become Captain America? It's not when he's doing propaganda for the United States. It's when he defies his country. It's when he defies the general who tells him that he can't go and save his brothers in arms. That's when he becomes Captain America. That's when he gains the respect and admiration of his fellow soldiers. Captain America the Winter Soldier. That movie's just like a straight up, that movie's like straight up commentary about like governmental overreach and surveillance and whatnot. And you see Captain America have ideological conflicts with Nick Fury, talking about how he doesn't think that certain things are right. And you get into Civil War. I mean, he's just straight up fighting against his country in that movie. The fallout of that movie is Captain America letting go of the shield and turning into Nomad or whatever. Like, unless you just don't understand anything about anything. I don't understand how you can watch the Captain America movies and then get upset at Anthony Mackie's comments. But people were. And so it's like, shit, dude. Can I really blame Marvel at the end of the day for being terrified of having like a political stance in a Captain America movie in 2025? I low-key can't. Because the reality is that all of you out there are completely brain broken by culture war politics. You're all just I don't know. I don't even like I don't even know how we can possibly come back from where we're currently at to where Anthony Mackie can give the most basic bare bones explanation of Captain America and people will piss and shit their pants over it. But here's the thing. While I can understand why Marvel ended up doing this to this movie, I think they also need to learn that this is also not the answer, right? Like, at the end of the day, stripping your movie down to the point where it's just not even a piece of art made by an artist anymore, stripping your movie down to the point where it has nothing to say about anything, that's also not going to appease anybody. You think all the people that are mad because there's a black Captain America. Also, and by the way, I'm also just like done with the gaslighting. Yes, all the people, or like 99% of the people that are harping on the fact that Sam Wilson is Captain America and that he's not the real Captain America. It is a race thing. Like I know, we all know that if Bucky had been given the mantle, like the vast majority of the controversy would not be there. We know this. We obviously know this, right? That's why I've never heard controversies that the mantle of Robin has been passed down. I've never heard like controversies that like other like white to white superheroes, right? Like the Flash, I've never heard those controversies. It's very like there's a reason why it's only for like Miles Morales and fucking Captain America, right? So sorry, the point that I was making was Disney and Marvel, they need to realize that the people that hold that opinion, the people like the Nerdrotics and the critical drinkers of the world, they're not going to all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, we're cool with Sam Wilson as Captain America, right? We're not going to somehow make this a political thing. All of a sudden, just because you decide to strip out any and all soul from your movie. They're still going to be talking about how Sam Wilson can't be Captain America. They're still going to be making those comments. That's why what you have to do is you have to make a fucking fantastic Sam Wilson as Captain America movie. You have to do what they did for Miles Morales, right? Say what you will about Sony, they're making fucking fantastic Miles Morales Spider-Man movies. To the point that, yeah, those guys are still there. You still have like your Nerdrotic tweeting out his pathetic little Miles Morales is Miles Morales, Spider-Man is Spider-Man tweets. Guess what? Nobody gives a shit. Those movies are fantastic. Everybody loves them. And you have your fucking weirdos off to the side that are mad that like Miles Morales is one of the Spider-Men. Guess what? If you had made a fantastic Sam Wilson Captain America movie, most people would just be talking about how, man, they went back to the Winter Soldier roots. Man, they made a really great movie. Man, this is one of the best Marvel movies in years. And all of the political, whatever, obsessed politics, culture war, brain-rotted people, they would be off on the side having their retarded conversations. But now, because you've stripped all of the soul out of your movie, because you've made a movie that says nothing, does nothing, now, guess what? You try to strip all of the politics out of your movie. Now all the political people are now going to have like a tool to use in their retarded culture war. So anyways, I don't have a good way to end this because the situation just sucks. Like the more I think about this, the more it's just upsetting. So we shall see what the MCU does next. But I hope that this is just a lesson for Marvel that at the end of the day, like, are there movies that go too far with their political messaging? I would say for sure, right? Like, I think, like, when you look at the first Captain Marvel, I think some of the weird, like, feminist stuff where, like, maybe I'm forgetting, maybe I'm remembering this scene wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was a scene where, like, there was a guy that was catcalling Carol, and then she just, like, assaulted him, which was like, that's definitely unnecessarily divisive. But yeah, movies should have messages. Artists should have perspectives that they want to relay in their art. And I don't know, like people that think otherwise are just fucking anti-art. And like I don't need to agree with everything that an artist has to say in order to appreciate a good piece of art. So hopefully Marvel learns that going in the complete opposite direction of being too political leads to similar results. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.